My daughter-in-law pushed me down the stairs at my grandson's birthday party because she was jealous of my relationship with him, and no one believed me until she confessed everything in a drunken rage. I am 62 female and my son Billy is 35 male. I moved in with Billy and his wife Felicia, 33 female, after my husband George passed away 2 years ago. They have a son Tommy who just turned 6. Before George died, we lived in our own house about an hour away from Billy. George and I had been married for 40 years, and his death from a sudden heart attack left me completely devastated. I couldn't handle living alone in our big empty house with all the memories. Billy suggested I move in with them since they had a spare bedroom. At first, I refused because I didn't want to impose, but he insisted. He said Tommy would love having his grandma around, and it would help them save money on childcare. Felicia seemed okay with the idea at the time, though looking back, I realized she was probably just trying to please Billy. When I first moved in, everything seemed fine on the surface. Felicia was always polite but kept her distance. I tried my best to respect their space and privacy. I helped around the house, cooked meals sometimes, and looked after Tommy when they were busy with work. Tommy and I grew very close. We would spend afternoons doing his homework together, baking cookies, or playing board games. He started calling me Nana, which I loved. I noticed small changes in Felicia's behavior over time. She would rearrange the kitchen after I cooked, claiming I put things in the wrong places. She would redo Tommy's clothes if I helped him get dressed, saying they didn't match. When I decorated Tommy's room for Christmas, she took everything down the next day saying the lights were too bright. I tried not to take it personally and kept trying to maintain peace. The problems really started about 6 months ago. I was in my room reading when I overheard Felicia on the phone with her friend. She didn't realize how thin the walls were. She was complaining about how she was sick of having me around. She said I was always interfering in their lives and that Billy needed to man up and put me in a retirement home. She called me a burden and said I was trying to replace her as Tommy's mother. I was deeply hurt but didn't say anything because I didn't want to cause problems. After that, I started spending more time in my room and tried to stay out of their way. Things got worse when Billy got promoted at work and started traveling more. Felicia became more openly hostile. She would make comments about how I was always hovering, how I needed to get my own life, and how Tommy wasn't my son. She started planning family activities when I was out at my book club so I wouldn't be included. When Billy was home, she would act completely different, being sugary sweet to me in front of him. Last weekend was Tommy's 6th birthday party. We had invited family and friends over, about 30 people in total. I spent days helping to decorate the house and bake Tommy's favorite chocolate cake from scratch, just like I used to make for Billy when he was little. Tommy was so excited about his party and kept running to me to tell me about all the games he wanted to play with his friends. During the party, I noticed Felicia was drinking more than usual. She had several glasses of wine and was getting louder and more aggressive. She kept giving me dirty looks whenever I tried to help with anything. At one point, she snapped at me in front of everyone when I tried to help Tommy cut his cake, saying I needed to stop trying to take over everything. Billy tried to smooth things over, saying we were all just excited about Tommy's big day. Later in the evening, I went upstairs to use the bathroom as the downstairs one was occupied. The party was still in full swing downstairs, with music playing and children running around. As I was coming down, I suddenly felt 2 hands push me hard from behind. There was no time to react. I tumbled down the stairs, trying desperately to grab the railing but missing. I hit every step on the way down, feeling sharp pains shoot through my body. I landed at the bottom in a crumpled heap. Through the haze of pain, I looked up and saw Felicia standing at the top of the stairs, a cold look in her eyes. But she quickly disappeared. When everyone came running to help me after hearing the crash, she appeared from the kitchen acting concerned and worried. She even pretended to call 911 while Billy held my hand. I kept saying through the pain that Felicia had pushed me, but no one was listening. When I finally managed to tell Billy directly, he looked at me like I had lost my mind. He said I must have lost my balance and that I was just trying to blame Felicia because I didn't like her. The worst part was when Felicia started crying, saying how could I accuse her of such a horrible thing when she had welcomed me into her home. Everyone at the party looked at me like I was some crazy old lady making up stories. The ambulance came and took me to the hospital. The doctors said I had a broken hip and several bruised ribs. They told me I would need surgery and months of physical therapy to recover. I kept trying to tell the medical staff what really happened, but they just made notes about my confusion in my chart. Billy visited me in the hospital but seemed distant and uncomfortable. He suggested that maybe it was time for me to consider moving to a retirement home since I was having trouble with my balance. When I tried to tell him again that I didn't fall, that Felicia pushed me, he just shook his head and left. I could see in his eyes that he thought I was either lying or losing my mind. I've been staying with my sister Jane since getting out of the hospital last week. She was the only one willing to take me in. Billy hasn't called to check on me once since I left the hospital. Felicia has been telling everyone that I'm mentally unstable and making up stories because I'm jealous of her relationship with Tommy. She's suggesting that my grief over George's death has made me paranoid and delusional. The worst part is that my own son believes her over me. The son I raised alone after his father walked out when he was just 2 years old. The son I worked 2 jobs to put through college. The son who used to tell me I was his hero. Now he won't even look me in the eye. I don't know what to do anymore. I can barely walk, I've lost my home, and my own son thinks I'm crazy. But I know what happened. I know what Felicia did. I just don't know how to prove it. Update 1. I want to thank everyone who commented on my original post with advice and support. These past 2 weeks have been a nightmare, but your kind words have helped me stay strong. A lot has happened since my last post, and none of it has been good. At least, not until today. My recovery has been slow and painful. The surgery on my hip went well, but the physical therapy is excruciating. Jane has been wonderful, helping me get to my appointments and making sure I take my medications on time. She's furious with Billy and has tried calling him several times, but he either doesn't answer or keeps the conversations short. Things got even worse 3 days ago when Billy finally came to visit me at Jane's house. I was hopeful when I saw him, thinking maybe he had started to question things or at least missed his mother. Instead, he looked angry and defensive from the moment he walked in. He didn't even ask how I was doing or if I needed anything. He told me that Felicia was thinking about filing a restraining order against me because I kept spreading lies about her. Apparently, some of our relatives had been calling them after hearing my side of the story, and Felicia was upset about it. Billy said I needed to stop telling people she pushed me or there would be legal consequences. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own son was threatening me with legal action on behalf of the woman who tried to kill me. I tried to reason with him, reminding him of all the times I'd been there for him. I brought up how I'd supported him through college, how I'd never missed a single one of his baseball games even when I was working 2 jobs, how I'd nursed him back to health when he got mono in his senior year and almost missed graduation. He just stared at me coldly and said, "That was a long time ago, Mom. Things are different now." Before he left, he told me that he and Felicia had been talking, and they thought it would be best if I didn't visit Tommy for a while. He said they needed to protect him from my unstable behavior. That broke me. I started crying, and Billy just walked out, leaving me there sobbing in my wheelchair. Jane found me an hour later still crying. She wanted to drive straight to Billy's house and give him a piece of her mind, but I begged her not to make things worse. I was afraid any confrontation would just give Felicia more ammunition to use against me. But something unexpected happened today that changed everything. Sarah, the wife of Billy's best friend Mark, called me out of the blue. She was at Tommy's birthday party but left early, before my fall. What she told me made everything click into place. Sarah revealed that she's been noticing strange things about Felicia for months. Apparently, Felicia had been badmouthing me to all their friends, saying how I was trying to steal her son's affection and turn Billy against her. She told everyone I was manipulative and passive-aggressive, making up stories about how I criticized her parenting when Billy wasn't around. The most shocking part was what Sarah told me about a girls' night out last month. After several glasses of wine, Felicia had gotten angry about something trivial and started ranting about me. She told Sarah that she wished something would happen to me so I would have to move out. She said having me in the house was ruining her marriage and that she couldn't stand seeing how much Tommy loved his grandma. She even said she had caught Tommy calling me Mom once by accident and that it had sent her into a rage. Sarah also revealed that Felicia had been seeing a therapist secretly, telling Billy it was for work stress. But she had confided in Sarah that it was really because she was having violent thoughts about me. She told Sarah she sometimes imagined pushing me down the stairs or putting something in my food. I asked Sarah why she hadn't said anything before. She admitted she was afraid of getting involved and causing problems between Mark and Billy. They've been best friends since high school, and Mark's friendship means everything to Billy. Sarah was worried that if she spoke up, it would create a rift between them. But after hearing about what happened at the party and seeing how everyone was treating me, she couldn't stay quiet anymore. Sarah said she's been feeling guilty ever since she heard about my fall. She kept thinking about Felicia's comments about the stairs and wondering if she should have warned someone. She finally told Mark everything last night, and he agreed she needed to come forward. I'm still processing everything Sarah told me. On one hand, I feel validated knowing that someone else has seen Felicia's true colors. On the other hand, I'm terrified for Tommy. If Felicia is capable of pushing me down the stairs, what else might she do when she's angry? Jane thinks I should file a police report immediately, especially now that we have Sarah's statement about Felicia's previous threats. But I'm scared it will just make things worse. What if Billy cuts me off completely? What if Felicia retaliates? What if I never see Tommy again? Sarah has offered to talk to Billy about everything she knows. She thinks he might believe it coming from her since she and Mark have known them both for so long. She also suggested that Mark could be there for the conversation, as Billy might take it more seriously with his best friend involved. I'm going to let Sarah talk to Billy. Maybe if he hears it from someone else, especially people he trusts, he'll finally believe me. But I'm terrified of getting my hopes up. I've already lost so much: my husband, my home, my son's trust. I don't know if I can handle any more disappointment. For now, I'm focusing on my physical therapy and trying to heal. Jane says I need to be strong for Tommy, in case Billy does come around. She's right. Whatever happens, I need to be able to be there for my grandson. I just pray that Billy opens his eyes before it's too late. Update 2. Everything has changed since my last update. Sarah and Mark finally talked to Billy about Felicia, and the truth came out in the worst possible way. I still can't believe how quickly everything unraveled. Sarah arranged to meet Billy for coffee, with Mark present for support. She told him everything about Felicia's drunk confessions, her secret therapy sessions, and her disturbing comments about wanting to harm me. At first, Billy reacted exactly as we feared. He got defensive and accused Sarah of trying to cause problems in his marriage. He stormed out of the coffee shop, but Mark followed him. Mark caught up with Billy in the parking lot and told him something he'd been keeping secret. Apparently, about 3 months ago, he had overheard Felicia on the phone with someone, talking about how she was going to get rid of the old bag one way or another. Mark hadn't said anything at the time because he thought Felicia was just venting, but after what happened to me, he realized it might have been more than that. This revelation shook Billy. Mark said he'd never seen his friend look so lost. Billy spent the next few days watching Felicia closely, noticing things he'd overlooked before, how she tensed up whenever Tommy mentioned me, how she changed the subject whenever he brought up my fall, how she'd been drinking more than usual. Then, last Sunday, Billy confronted Felicia while Tommy was at a friend's house. According to him, she completely lost it during their argument. She screamed that yes, she had pushed me down the stairs and that she would do it again if she had the chance. She said I deserved it for trying to take over her family. The worst part was when she said she'd only regretted not pushing me harder. Billy had been recording the conversation on his phone, something Sarah had suggested he do. He came to see me immediately after, barely able to speak through his tears. He played me the recording, and I heard Felicia's confession with my own ears. Billy broke down completely, begging for my forgiveness. He said he should have believed me from the start, that he'd failed as a son, and that he'd never forgive himself for choosing Felicia over me. Things moved quickly after that. Billy filed for divorce the next day and is seeking full custody of Tommy. The police have been involved, and Felicia is facing assault charges. They took her in for questioning, and apparently, she broke down and confessed everything. She's been released on bail but isn't allowed near me or Tommy. The hardest part was telling Tommy why his mommy had to leave. He's too young to understand everything, but he knows she did something very bad to Grandma. Billy told him that sometimes grown-ups do bad things and have to face consequences, just like when he does something wrong and has to go to timeout. Tommy cried a lot at first, asking if his mommy didn't love him anymore. It broke my heart. Billy and Tommy have moved in with me at Jane's house temporarily while everything gets sorted out. Jane wasn't thrilled about having Billy there at first, given how he'd treated me, but she's warming up to him. She can see how genuinely remorseful he is and how hard he's trying to make things right. Felicia's family has been causing problems. They're claiming I manipulated everyone and set Felicia up somehow. They've been calling nonstop and showing up at Jane's house unannounced. We had to call the police twice to make them leave. Billy had to block them all on social media after they started posting horrible things about me and him. The divorce proceedings have started, and it's getting ugly. Felicia's parents hired an expensive lawyer for her, and they're trying to paint me as a manipulative mother-in-law who destroyed their marriage out of jealousy. But the recording of her confession makes their arguments pretty weak. The prosecutor says it's solid evidence for the assault charges too. Billy is struggling with guilt. He keeps apologizing and trying to make it up to me. Yesterday, he brought over all my things from his house, including the family photos I'd left behind. He found my old recipe box that Felicia had told him she'd accidentally thrown away months ago. It was hidden in the back of her closet, along with other things of mine that had mysteriously disappeared over the past year. I'm still processing everything that's happened. Part of me is relieved that the truth finally came out, but another part of me is heartbroken for Tommy. No child should have to go through something like this. Billy and I are trying our best to maintain his routine and make him feel secure, but I can tell he's confused and hurting. For now, we're taking it one day at a time. The police investigation is ongoing, and we have a court date set for next month. I just hope we can get through this without Tommy being too traumatized by it all. Update 3. The legal proceedings are finally winding down, and I wanted to give everyone a final update. The divorce is almost finalized, and Felicia's assault case has been resolved. A lot has happened in the past 3 months. Felicia tried to fight for custody of Tommy, claiming she had been under extreme stress and wasn't thinking clearly when she pushed me. Her lawyer argued that one moment of poor judgment shouldn't cost her access to her child. But the recording of her confession, combined with statements from Sarah and Mark about her previous threats and behavior, worked against her. The fact that she showed no remorse during her confession and actually said she'd do it again really damaged her case. The judge wasn't sympathetic to her claims of temporary insanity. She's been ordered to attend anger management classes and can only have supervised visits with Tommy twice a month. Her parents tried to volunteer as supervisors, but given their hostile behavior towards us, the court appointed a professional supervisor instead. Felicia ended up pleading guilty to the assault charges to get a lighter sentence. She got 2 years of probation and has to pay for all my medical expenses. She also has to stay at least 500 feet away from me at all times. Her parents are furious about the outcome and have been spreading rumors in our community about how I orchestrated this whole thing to steal their daughter's family. Billy found an apartment near Jane's house and asked me to move in with them. He says he needs my help with Tommy and wants to make up for not believing me. He's been going above and beyond to show how sorry he is, driving me to all my physical therapy appointments, cooking my favorite meals, and making sure I'm comfortable. Part of me wants to say yes to moving in, but Jane thinks I should maintain some independence. After everything that's happened, she's probably right. I've decided to get my own small apartment in the same building as Billy. This way, I can be close to my son and grandson while still having my own space. The compensation from Felicia for my medical bills helped with the security deposit, and Billy insisted on helping with the rent. I tried to refuse, but he said it's the least he can do after everything I've been through. Tommy is doing better now, though he still asks about his mom sometimes. The first supervised visit was hard on him. He cried when he had to leave her, and Felicia apparently made some comments about how Grandma and Daddy were keeping him away from her. After that, Billy started taking him to a child therapist to help him process everything. Billy is struggling to date again, which I understand. He's focused on Tommy and rebuilding our relationship. Sometimes I catch him looking at old family photos, probably trying to figure out if there were signs he missed. I've told him he can't blame himself. Felicia fooled everyone, not just him. Felicia's family has been relentless in their harassment. They've been posting on social media about how I manipulated everyone and destroyed their daughter's life. They even started a GoFundMe to help with Felicia's legal expenses, claiming I was an abusive mother-in-law who fabricated the assault. Billy had to block them all, and we're documenting everything in case we need to take legal action. Sometimes I feel guilty about how everything turned out. Tommy has lost his mother, Billy's marriage is over, and a family has been torn apart. But then I remember lying at the bottom of those stairs, thinking I was going to die, while Felicia pretended to be concerned. I remember all the nights I spent in pain during my recovery, crying because my own son didn't believe me. I remember Tommy's tears when he asked if his mommy hated him now. I don't think I'll ever be able to forgive Felicia for what she did, not just to me, but to her own family. For now, I'm focusing on healing, both physically and emotionally, and being there for my son and grandson as we all adjust to our new normal.